Hello, I'm Kevin Benedict, Senior Analyst with the Center for the Future of Work at Cognizant, and I have with me today as guest Carlos Carvajal. He's with Coney Solutions, Senior Vice President of Product Marketing.
Yes. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate this opportunity.
So for those of you who weren't able to be here at the SAP's user conference, talk to me about what you're hearing from the people that are coming to your booth asking about enterprise mobility. Is there interest? What are they asking? What seems to be the motivating factors this year?
It's a great question. The show's been going really well. I think that one of the things that's worked out is we have a phrase on our booth called mobilizing SAP, and we've had a lot of people stop and say, we're trying to do that right now. Tell us what you do and how you can help us. So that's the common trend that we're seeing is we've talked to a lot of companies that either have legacy applications based on web technology, and even some people, we're talking to a regional airlines that still deal with a lot of paper-based processes, right? And they know that a lot of their workers are remote and they need to mobilize them, and that's the types of discussions that we're having is how do we move their business processes to the next level using digital technology.
And the foot traffic coming by asking about mobility, how is it here?
It's been really good. Steady stream of traffic, a lot of interest around mobile, and a really diverse set of use cases. And one interesting thing in the traffic is we expected most of the questions to be around SAP and SAP integration, but a lot of these companies have very complex backends. So they ask about SAP, they ask about Salesforce, they ask about Maximo, and they're asking about how can you actually integrate all this data together into a common mobile app for a specific process.
That's very good. Now, talk to us about how Coney is positioned in the market today. So in enterprise mobility, how are analysts positioning you guys? Where do you see your place?
Great question. So I'm proud, Coney's very proud of the following accomplishment, which is we are the only vendor on the planet which achieved leadership status in both the Gartner Magic Quadrant for mobile application development platforms and Forrester's Wave for mobile infrastructure services, which is really focused on the back end. So some vendors do well on the mobile app dev side, some vendors did well on the back end. We're the only ones, leadership in both.
Wow.
And really that's a testament to two things. One is the strength of our technology because we are a pure play independent mobility company. It's all we do, our entire focus is around mobility. So technology, innovation, as well as customer success. Really those were the things that propelled us to the leadership in both of those quadrants.
Now, if we go back 3 years and look at enterprise mobility, there was a whole different category or group of competitors.
Yeah.
And now you guys are one of the few left standing. What would you attribute that to?
I'd say it comes back to a couple things that I just mentioned. Just the strength of our overall value prop and the technology for building mobile applications that are truly mobile first, native apps that you can do with a single code base. So what are companies typically looking for? I can't get things done fast enough, right? So I need to move faster and I need to deliver a great experience. And those are the two things we hear over and over again, and that's really core to our platform is being able to develop applications much faster, but also very rich native applications. So you're not compromising on the experience for speed, right? And I think that combination has really helped us stay at the forefront of the market.
How are you seeing customers' questions change over the last year? Were they asking different things, facing different problems than they are today, or is it the same?
I think it's a great question. It depends on the type of customer and the type of organization. So there are some organizations that really started the mobility journey 3 to 5 years ago, and they've gone through the pain of building 3, 5, 7+ apps, and we're hearing the phrase either app factory. We want to build an app factory to drive more efficiency in the business and be able to roll out 10s, 100+ mobile apps. Or they call it a mobility center of excellence. And we're seeing more and more of those come up, like 3 in the last week that I talked to around this mobile center of excellence. So those are the more advanced organizations that they realize that the ad hoc build apps in siloed stovepipes just is not very efficient at all, right? So they're looking for shared services and other ways to actually drive greater efficiencies in the business. On the opposite end of the spectrum, there are companies that have just really built out 1 or 2 apps, but they're even realizing pain that every time Apple releases a new update for iOS and Android's doing the same thing, it's challenging even to keep them up to date. So they're on the opposite end of the spectrum where they're not worried about an app factory, they're just struggling to keep their app up to date, right? And then there are companies in between.
Oh, absolutely. At Cognizant, we've had situations where clients have approached us recently with over 50 different enterprise applications, and they've reached to a point they know that's not sustainable.
Right.
Because they've had different contractors, different platforms involved. They've built them under different architects and different models, different APIs. and they're saying, okay, mobility is going to be here permanently. It's not just a passing fad.
Right.
What do we do to actually create a sustainable environment? Now, if they would have just read my blog, I would have told them that like 5 years ago.
That's
but,
a good point.
you know, some people, I don't know where they've been living, but they've missed the blog that I've been writing on enterprise mobility. And they went out and done this. So they have this plethora of different environments, and they're trying to unify it into a maintainable, sustainable environment.
That's exactly right. And just tied into that, what's concerning some of these customers, especially for the App Factory 50 plus apps, there are a lot of apps that they don't even know about. They know they exist, but they're shadow IT apps. They're rogue line of businesses, and it was interesting talking to a company from Europe where their strategy for addressing that is to put this common shared service App Factory model in, and they're going to shut off access to all the back-end data.
Yep.
Right? And if you want access, you got to come through the governance model that they're putting in place.
Right.
Which
You
I thought
have
was
to.
really good. Yeah.
And that's always one of the biggest challenges. You can have a paper document or a PDF or something that has your rules,
Right.
but how do you actually maintain that within the system itself?
Right. And enforcing those policies
Right.
is a big challenge.
So talk to us about what's new at Coney from a kind of a product perspective over the last year.
A lot of big things, a lot of recent big announcements, some really exciting news coming out soon. But biggest changes, I would say, there's been a lot of focus around delivering prepackaged applications around specific business processes. So for this event here, we launched and are talking about our field service application for automating specific field service business processes
Okay.
for field technicians.
Okay.
So that's a new app that we're really excited about and getting great traction at the event. The other applications around retail banking. So banking and financial services is our #1 industry, and we're seeing a lot of success as far as innovation in banking. They actually talk about it a little bit different than mobile or multi-channel. Their focus is on omni-channel. They're really looking at the whole digital strategy around how do I connect with my customers, and we're seeing more and more shifts around omni-channel and digital versus just mobile as well. And then on the platform side, from the technology point of view, one big excitement, and this is great for all of you, is we just released a freemium tool for building native app prototypes for free, forever. There's no strings attached. To be clear, you can build as many prototypes as you want, fully interactive, deployed for iOS, Android, and more, for free. Right, so that's called Visualizer Starter Edition.
Wow.
Available on our website. We just launched that in the last 2 months.
That is extremely powerful,
Yes.
because an inhibitor to moving forward over the years has always been this giant upfront setup,
That's exactly
a
right.
platform, a training and education. How has Coney addressed the need for in-depth training before you even do a prototype, or they jump right in?
They can jump right in, and that was one of the key criteria that we looked at for releasing Visualizer Starter Edition. Was we put out over 20 videos, probably 3 to 7 minutes on average each, getting started, and then for different topics you can watch different videos. So
Very good.
the whole point of this is driving mass adoption, right, and letting people. The name of the program is Visualizing Possibilities. We want to enable the market to really think creatively around mobile and mobile
Right.
strategies. And the feedback that we got is Photoshop is great, Sketch is great, but a static design does not emulate a mobile app. You need the interactivity of the app itself, and that's what this native app prototyping tool can do. It's a fully functional native app. It's just not integrated with the back end.
Got it. So if you look at the kind of the history of enterprise mobility, at least over the past decade, there was a point when the mobile enterprise application platforms were all on-premise. And then you saw this emerging group that came out and they were just cloud-based. And you guys now cover both areas?
Yes, we cover, basically, we have on-premise, and that was the original focus. We're seeing, to one of your earlier questions, much greater adoption on the cloud, actually, lately. But one of our strengths as well is what's known as a hybrid model. So there are certain industries where they actually like to start quickly using the cloud, but for security reasons, they actually bring it in-house when they deploy into production to deploy on-prem. So having that hybrid model actually helps quite a bit.
Very good.
Yep.
So for all the reasons that we've just talked about here, Cognizant is now a global partner with
Super
Coney
excited about
Solutions.
that. Thank you.
And we're working together to teach strategy around the world, so people have an idea of both the digital transformation impact of mobility and what does digital transformation mean to them outside of mobility as well.
Absolutely.
Because we've certainly seen at Cognizant where it's very rare that you would ever get a mobile app project that doesn't impact a lot of other systems.
Yeah.
So you can't call it mobility when 90% of your work is with the back-end systems.
The cultural change, the organizational, the processes,
Yeah.
everything around it that's a really important point. I've seen this happen. Technology, for technology's sake, is not
Yeah.
going to solve the problem. Looking at it holistically across, the people, the process, the organization, that is critical.
Got it. So I'd invite anybody out there, if you have an interest in digital strategies and mobile strategies that you can think through and talk with your leadership, please reach out to thefutureofwork.com. It's our thought leadership blog at Cognizant. We have a lot of articles on there on mobility. So futureofwork.com.
Great.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, Kevin.
Carlos.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you
Thanks,
guys
everyone.
for attending.
Take care.